All right, we're rolling. It's the third week. This is it. This is the final stretch. It's always a little bittersweet. It's like, oh, this is so exciting. But then at the same time, this group in particular, and I promise you, I don't say this about every group, but this group in particular has been super chatty and super enthusiastic and just so incredibly supportive over in the Facebook group. I'm deeply, deeply grateful and indebted to you all for being so on point with this. I mean, your recipes, your pictures, and just, your support of one another has been, I mean, it brings a tear to my eye. It's been really, really lovely. So thank you so much for all of your participation and the time that it takes to check in every day and not get sucked into the rest of social media, but to just really focus in and say, how's my group going? What can I do to support my comrades over there in the 21-day holiday reset? So here we are, final showdown. As we cruise through, we are moving into week number 3, and this is the week of repair, re-inoculating, and rebuilding. In particular, we are going to be talking about ojas. Ojas is this force that enables us to sustain change over time. It's we'll dive into the deeper definition of it here in a few minutes, but suffice it to say, we're all born with a certain amount of ojas. According to Ayurveda, we're all born with a certain amount of ojas. We can continue to build it, but we can certainly also deplete it. Dr. Vasant Lad over at the Ayurvedic Institute used to be in Albuquerque. Now they've moved over to Asheville, North Carolina. He always has said that ojas is the nectar that's secreted from the heart. It's loosely and very loosely translated into English here in the West as immunity. It's so much more than that. In fact, yeah, it's just a great deal more than that. But we're going to be building ojas. And before we do that, there we go. We're going to take a quick recap of the first and second week. So I'm going to fly through this because you've got these slides already, and you've heard me talk about this twice already before. However, we've got the low agni, right? The digestive fire that's still just embers. Think of your digestive fire. Well, another way that I think of digestive fire and talk to clients about it is like a pilot light. So your pilot light is just turned down really low. Maybe it's almost out of gas. It's just the fuel isn't there. It's just not burning. And it's going to be really difficult to cook anything, AKA digest anything. And remember, you have lifestyle and herbal spicy protocols to rev your engine, right? You've got the ginger shooters, you've got the 16, give or take, hour of fasting overnight. We have the sharp agni. This is called tikshna agni. And this is the bonfire in the belly. That's just, your pilot light is so high that anything that comes near it gets burned to a crisp. So there's not much of an opportunity to absorb, assimilate, or digest anything. Everything just gets fried. And we have strategies for that. We have variable agni. Variable agni is the erratic, hungry sometimes, not hungry sometimes, very erratic appetite, just kind of all over the map. This person with a variable appetite will probably forget to eat. They're just like so disjointed, distracted, easily distracted. It'll be like 3 o'clock the next day and they'll be like, I don't think I had dinner last night. Versus the person with a high or sharp agni, that typically corresponds to somebody with a high pitta constitution. They won't forget to eat, but they will make a conscious decision not to eat. They will be the people who put the sign on their office door that says, leave me the heck alone. I'm working through lunch today. And they'll make that choice not to eat. A person with a low appetite, low fire, typically that corresponds to kapha. Kapha people love their routine. They love their rituals. They love a beautiful table setting. They'll never forget to eat. They're like on point, regimented, and they're not gonna miss that opportunity to sit and soak and savor, right? So the gold standard we're looking for is the steady appetite. This is called sama agni. For the yogis on the screen, think about samasthiti, right? Steady standing, or samavriti pranayama, steady or same movement of the breath, steady, same agni. That's what we're looking for. We want to have a steady, regular, hearty appetite. Some people will get by with 2 meals a day and thrive. Some people need 3 meals a day. I'm looking at you, Pitta people. Vata people, there's a chance you might need to eat 4 times a day, because Vata types generally have a metabolism like a hummingbird that is jacked up on crack cocaine. They are just like, wah, all the time. And their energy is that they need to be grounded and grounding themselves, and they can do that through food. So maybe 4 small meals or 3 meals and a decent little grounding snack. I'm not talking about crackers or granola bars, but something that's more, or a rice cake, something that's more grounding, like banana and peanut butter or something like that. Okay, so the 4 categories of Agni, got that, wrap that up. We talked last week, we explored the concept of ama, the uncooked or unprocessed stuff that gets left behind because either A, our digestive system is compromised and can't digest fully and completely what we eat, or B, what we're eating isn't real food. And I'll tell you, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, but if we're eating ultra processed foods, emulsifiers, natural anything, natural flavorings, natural coloring, anything that says natural, if the label can't be specific and tell you what the flavor is, but they have to hide it behind the term natural, you can guarantee that it is processed. It's just processed. Our body, it's called evolutionary mismatch. Our bodies biologically haven't caught up to what is available to us today. And that goes for technology, that goes for 24-hour news cycles, but it also goes for ultra processed foods. We're not evolutionarily ready, able, capable to digest the ultra processed chemicals and ingredients that are coming at us in pretty much like everything in the middle of the grocery store. So you've probably heard the saying, when you go to the grocery store, shop on the perimeter, you know? But it's interesting. There's a fantastic book that came out last year, maybe in 2021, maybe it's 2020. I think it came out in 2022, called Ultra Processed People. And I have it in, anyway, it's part of our yoga book club, but even if you don't come to yoga and you don't do the book club, that's fine. Get that book. You can listen to it. It's wonderful to listen to. It's written by a doctor who's British, and he narrates the book. He's charming as all get out. He's got the best dry wit and sense of humor. And it's just a phenomenal book that will absolutely blow your lid when it comes to ultra processed foods and how we are simply pawns in the game of money. So anyway, I digress, but this is an excellent book. Okay, so last week we talked about ama, and we talked about intestinal hyperpermeability, which is such a mouthful, so we simply call it leaky gut. We talked about this gut dysbiosis. If we have leaky gut, you remember these little guys here, unprocessed or uncooked food particles, protein particles, etc., they can cruise through. Remember the tight junctions I talked about, the TJs, the tight junctions that line the epithelial wall of the small and large intestine. And if the tight junctions are compromised, those are the crossing guards, right? Then they start opening up for just anything, and stuff gets out, stuff gets in. Stuff gets out that we don't want out in circulation. Stuff comes in that we don't want in the digestive tract. But more importantly, we're concerned about the things that are getting out of the GI tract that we don't want in circulation. And that would be, a term for that would be ama, the uncooked, unprocessed stuff that is left behind because the body doesn't know what or how to handle it. When ama seeps out of the epithelial wall of the intestinal lining, and remember I told you that lining is as thin as a strand of hair, and on the other side of this lining is your immune system. So anything that leaks out, the immune system is like right there to say, blah, what is this, and do what the immune system is designed to do, which is call in the National Guard of your body and start attacking whatever this is. From the Ayurvedic perspective, when ama cuts loose and starts and gets into our systemic circulation, ama will circulate throughout our body, looking for the weakest link. And I think I said this last week, but it'll look for the weakest link. So if the joints are weak, ama might lodge in the joints, and then there's rheumatoid or there's arthritis, osteoarthritis. If the lymphatic system is weak, ama will make its way into the lymphatic system. Ama is just kind of cruising around looking for a place to nest, and then there's trouble. So we really want to regulate the agni, remove the ama as best we can. And then when we've done those two things, we can begin to rebuild the ojas. Remember, we're born with a certain amount of ojas. It gets depleted over time, but there are ways to rebuild it. So ojas is this delicate essence that's produced from what we take in. Our body transforms the food that we eat into ojas through digestion and through our metabolism. This is why we need to have a strong pilot light. Robust ojas acts as a shield of sorts. It wards off stress, it wards off disease. And this is why oftentimes ojas is loosely translated as our immunity. But it's more than that. I mean, it's really this sap. It's this nectar that courses through our body. We just don't have the medical or scientific equipment yet to see it, but maybe one day we will, right? It courses through our body, and it strengthens us, and it gives us vitality and longevity. Any disease or pathogen that's introduced to the body, whether it's physical or even psychic pathogens, if we have a robust ojas, we're able to kind of fight it off, ward it off. The more ojas we have, the more we're resistant to other people's negativity. So it's not just about food, right? But it's mental as well, emotional as well, spiritual as well. The more ojas we have, the more we're resistant to other people's negativity, because then our own spirit has a good, strong container. So what does ojas look like? Well, like I said, we don't see it with the naked eye, but we can sense it. Here, I'll go back to that previous screen here in a minute. Somebody with strong ojas, they come across as calm and content. They have strong immunity. They have strong endurance. They have a clear voice, clear eyes, clear skin. They kind of radiate. They radiate. They're radiant, and maybe they radiate as well. Ojas permeates all parts of the human body, and when it's deficient or we're depleted, then the body is also deficient or malnourished, you could say, and degenerates. Strong fertility is a sign of good ojas or healthy ojas. Healthy reproductive organs and tissues, healthy hormone levels are also a sign of good, strong ojas. And keep in mind, having strong ojas is contingent on the confidence that our survival needs are assured, right? So think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If our baseline is met, then we can work on building and maintaining good ojas. But if every day is a struggle to get to work, to have a roof over our heads, that's going to be really challenging on our ojas. So we think back to this dance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, right? Sympathetic being all fight, flight, or freeze, and the parasympathetic being that of rest and digest or tend and befriend. The more we can turn down the rheostat on the sympathetic, that fight or flight, and the more we can turn up the volume of the parasympathetic, the better we are equipped to have stronger resilience and the ability to rebound and to build our ojas. Okay, let me go back to that previous screen. I pulled this off of the 5 to Thrive slideshow earlier today, just because I think there's enough people in the group, in this particular group, that have an interest in Ayurveda. So I'm going to digress for about 5 minutes, maybe less, hopefully, if I don't get too long-winded, and give you this screen. If this is like, oh my gosh, what is this? And what are all these words? Just hang with me for a few minutes and let something seep in or not. So when we think about ojas being the end result of what we digest, what we take on board, consume, and digest, let's look at it from a physical food perspective. Ahara is the word for food. So you eat food. You eat your, let's see, what did I see on the Facebook group today? That yummy kale, creamy kale pasta. Somebody, Madison posted, I think, with the sun-dried tomatoes. Delicious. Oh my gosh. So you sit down to a bowl or plate of the pasta. That's your food. Now, you digest, this is the Ayurvedic medical model here. That food is going to first feed your rasa, your plasma, your lymphatic system. Okay, don't think this is metaphorically, okay? But that food is first going to feed your lymphatic system. The lymphatic system, the drains of the body, that's our very first line of defense. The lymphatic system, assuming it is healthy and robust, will digest what it can, what it needs, and there will be leftovers, likely. Those leftovers will then feed the blood, the rakta. These are the 7 tissues that make up the human body. Okay, lymph, blood, muscle, fat, bone, nervous tissue, reproductive tissue. So once rasa is fed, the leftovers go to the blood. The blood is the second layer, the second tissue of the human body that gets nourishment from the food we eat. Once the blood takes what it can use, then, assuming there are leftovers, the rest goes to muscle. The muscle's like, oh, this is great. Thank you. Good. I'll take what I need, and then I'll feed the fat. Do you see what I'm saying? So each tissue feeds the next tissue. We have a ways to go before we get down to ojas. Ojas is the absolute end result, the end essence of what we eat. So we have to feed all these other tissues are waiting for nourishment before ojas can be produced. If any one of, well, 3 things. If our digestive system is compromised, then this model is going to have a breakdown in the system. If, number 2, if any of these tissues are compromised, and not to get like too wild, but each one of these tissues has its own agni. Each one of these layers of tissues has their own pilot light. They all have their own pilot light. So if the pilot light for the bone, for the ashti dhatu, is compromised, then digestion's going to stop there. It's going to stop. It's going to hit a wall. It can't go any further. And then that means the nervous tissue, the nerve tissue, the bone marrow, the nerve tissue, and the reproductive tissue won't get the nourishment that they crave. So if the digestive system is compromised, there's already out of the gate from the very top, there's a break in the link. If any one of these tissues are compromised because their agni is low, then there's a break, there's a wrench in the system, and nourishment stops. if we're eating food, or if we're eating ingredients that aren't real food, there's no nourishment for the blood. There's no nourishment for the bone. There's no nourishment for the shukra dhatu. There's no nourishment for the reproductive tissues, the reproductive juices. And then there's no ojas. So I hope that's really all the time. I mean, we could spend like 3 weeks just on this, which might be kind of cool. I geek out on this stuff. This stuff is like, but we don't have time. But I wanted to expose you to this, because it is a most fascinating topic to explore. But the bottom line is, we eat food. We want to build ojas from the food we eat. We might be eating all the dates, all the kale, pasta, cashew sauce, all the, Swiss chard, all the wholesome food ingredients. But if our digestive system is compromised, we're never going to get to ojas. If we're eating anything in between meals that's not real, then we throw a wrench in the system and we won't get to the ojas. And ojas is what it's all about. We've got to build the ojas. Okay, so moving on. Signs of strong ojas, we covered that. So how do we deplete ojas? Oh, she looks like she's had a rough night. Our emotions can be depleting to ojas. What I mean by that is spending too much time in anger. It's an emotion. We all feel it, get it, get after it. Just don't live there. Too much time in anger, too much time in grief, too much time in jealousy, too much time in a negative attitude. Too much food, overindulging, depletes our ojas. Too little food, not enough nourishment, depletes our ojas. Alcohol, hands down, it depletes ojas. It's so detrimental to our microbiome. Staying up at night, disrupting the natural circadian rhythm. So staying up when it's dark and sleeping when it's daylight. Gotta shift that and get in sync with the sun, y'all. Injury, trauma, illness, these things are not, more often than not, out of our control, but trauma is depleting to ojas for sure. Injuries depleting to ojas. Too much time in front of a computer, in front of a TV, in front of any screen, that's depleting to ojas. So how do we build it? How do we replenish ojas? Well, some natural and cost-effective ways to start replenishing your ojas, in addition, of course, to eating whole foods, regulating your appetite, and replenishing your microbiome. We can get adequate sleep, plenty of rest. 7 to 8 hours a night is what the science says adults need to have. And you can look into the glymphatic system for more information on why we need at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep at night to drain the neurotoxins from our brain. Again, that could be a whole nother program, which would be really cool. Spending time in nature. I love this picture. This is in India on the banks of the Ganges, and a friend snapped it of me, and it always makes me so happy. The water was so beautiful and so clear, and it was just warm, but it was surrounded by mountains, and it just I could have sat there all day long, just with all of the elements of nature, just swirling around me, but yet so grounded. Spending time in nature is replenishing to ojas. Of course, proper food in the proper amount at the proper time is replenishing to ojas. Friendships, y'all. Friendships build ojas. You know who your energy suckers are. One of my mentors, Sonia, told me one time that I had ojas vampires in my life. So you have ojas vampires in your life. You've got to get rid of these people. It's like, whoa, it's kind of harsh. But I mean, ojas is our health. It's the vitality. So friendships, find your people, who lifts you up, and be that person for others. Be that edifying woman for other people to help them build their ojas as well. And of course, oil, all the oil in all the places. And if you've done the 5 to Thrive program, you know how serious I am about putting oil everywhere in our body. So a brief review of the gut microbiome. Our gut biome regulates hormones and neurotransmitters. The gut microbiome facilitates absorption of nutrients, both your macronutrients and your micronutrients. The gut microbiome plays an essential role in the immune system. We've established that. Remember, they're separated by a layer of cells as thin as a strand of hair. The gut microbiome contributes to the ongoing task of regulating estrogen levels in the body. Now, I believe, and I have no scientific journal articles to base this on, this is just my belief right now, that our gut microbiome is our agni. Our gut microbiome is digesting and processing all day long and all night long. And our agni, our metaphorical fire, is also digesting and burning and processing. I think that there's such a correlation between these two. If we have strong agni, we have a strong microbiome, perhaps. I don't know, it's just a theory that I'm working on, but I believe there's so much similarity between the two and the work that they do that I'm on a mission to determine if there's any truth to my theory. So your gut microbiome contributes to the ongoing task of regulating estrogen levels in the body. So I want to digress here for just a moment. This brings me to hormone health. I haven't spent much time at all in this program talking about hormones, other than to make you aware at the beginning that there is a gut hormone connection. We cover hormones in 5 to Thrive, like until we're blue in the face. However, I do want to say that while this program is emphasizing gut health, within gut health, you will find hormone health. Your bodies, ladies, are brilliant, truly, truly brilliant. You have an entire department of bacteria bugs, of microbials in your microbiome that is dedicated solely to the work of regulating, metabolizing, and modulating your estrogen levels. This community has a direct impact on your estrogen levels, which can directly influence your weight, your libido, your mood. Think of your microbiome, all these little gut bugs, as a symphony. You've got the wind section, the string section, the bass, the percussion, the brass rather, and the percussion section. And this particular department is called your estrobolome. It's a real word. Who knew? It's amazing what we're discovering now, I say we, like I'm a scientist, but what science is discovering now and sharing with the rest of us. This department is called your estrobolome, and it is responsible for keeping your fluctuating estrogen levels, which are dynamic, right? Not just on a monthly basis, but on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, on a minute by minute basis. Your estrogen levels, all of our hormone levels, are dynamic throughout the day. And this estrobolome its primary aim is to keep our cycles, not just the monthly menstrual cycle, but the cycle of our hormones, progesterone, estrogen, etc., just right. And as you've seen, a healthy microbiome is made up of a multitude of species, all in the right places, all in the right amounts, hopefully, right? However, when there is not enough, and we've touched base on that, when we don't have enough commensal bacteria, that's the good guys in the gut, or if we have not enough diversity of microbials, of gut bugs in our body, or if we have too many, even too many of the good guys can pose a problem. Seriously, if we have too much, we end up with candidiasis. Candida for short, we end up with SIBO, right? Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. The majority of your microbiome resides in your colon, the majority of it. The lower part of your small intestine and your colon. I mean, colon is home base for these gut bugs. That's where all the action takes place. Now, if we have an overabundance of microbials, an overabundance of bacteria, good or bad, good can be a culprit too. They seep further up into the small intestine, and that's where we get small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Not a pleasant condition, and if it's not caught early, it can be extremely challenging to treat, and oftentimes absolutely requires the use of pharmaceuticals to tap this down and to get a handle on the overgrowth of the bacteria. So it's such a wild and dynamic dance in the body of just constantly keeping things up, down, over here, to the left, to the right, north, south, just right. Anything that we can do consciously, deliberately, intentionally, that we can do to help. I mean, we got to do it, right? We got to do it. So here are some of the triggers. Sugar alters the microbiome by favoring the growth of and feeding unwanted bacteria. I'm talking about ultra processed sugars primarily. I mean, sugar in general, but mostly it's ultra processed sugar, right? I mean, you can overindulge on coconut sugar, right? You can overdo it on date syrup. You can overdo it on natural sugars, to be fair. Alcohol raises estrogen levels in both the short term and the long term. If you have a history of estrogen related or estrogen dominant cancers in your family, I'll just say it flat out. Alcohol has zero business in your body. Zero. Ultra processed foods, just 3 days of eating ultra processed foods has been linked to a detrimental impact on gut health. Eating a diet high in ultra processed foods for 2 weeks can reduce your microbial diversity by, take a wild guess, what percent? 2 weeks of eating ultra processed foods. And I'm not just talking about Big Macs, 3 times a day, every day. I mean, I'm talking about like, cereals, breakfast bars, anything wrapped in cellophane. So eating a diet high in ultra processed foods for 2 weeks can reduce your microbial diversity by 40%. 40%. And remember, it's all about diversity. Environmental pollutants, of course, plastics, BPA, those pesky forever chemicals that get into the body and never go away. So what's the remedy? Well, here's where we come into repair, replace, and rebuild. First things first, plant diversity. Absolutely. Got to have it. Count your plants, eat as many different plants as you can a day, aim for 10 different plants a day. And if that's easy for you, then take it up. You cannot overdo it. You just can't. Up level your plant fiber. Okay. So fiber, we were talking earlier before we started recording about ways you could do that. You could add ground flaxseed to your daily consumption. Chia seeds work. Ground flax seeds, you could do up to 2 tablespoons a day. Sprinkle it over your oatmeal, sprinkle it on your salad, sprinkle it on your pasta. Reseed your gut, which is another term for re-inoculating your gut. Now, sauerkraut, high quality, no sauerkraut in a can. Don't even go there. Just if you've got sauerkraut in a can, ditch it. I mean, I hate to say take it to a food bank, because why should they have to eat crummy sauerkraut? But ditch the sauerkraut in a can. It's got to be refrigerated. It's got to be high quality. But sauerkraut, 2 tablespoons of sauerkraut a day often is plenty, is enough to like really feed that microbiome. They love that stuff. Tempeh is another another great food to use. Miso. These fermented foods are excellent. Your gut bugs love them. Prebiotic foods, some prebiotic foods that you can begin incorporating more of into your meals. Artichoke hearts, leeks, asparagus, green peas, and all the legumes. All the legumes. Now, probiotics. So we shouldn't need probiotics. I'm glad they're out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad they're out there. However, there's some new research that's indicating probiotics aren't really all they're cracked up to be if the digestive system is impaired. On the other hand, there's research that says if your digestive system is impaired, you need the probiotics. So we've got we've got conflicting advice out in the ether sphere. And here's where I say, you do your research. My opinion, and this is just an opinion, I could have a completely different opinion this time next year based on what research shows up out there. My opinion is if you are or have been dealing with any form of dysbiosis, remember that's a fancy word. Dysbiosis is a fancy word for gut dysfunction, any sort of GI intestinal issue. 10 billion CFUs of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. Those two strains in particular, which are very common, you can find them in grocery stores and natural stores all over the place. 10 billion, billion with a B, 10 billion CFUs of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium daily for 2 months, maybe 3 months. You know, give yourself 90 days, right? If you go to your doctor and it is necessary that you take a prescription, more often than not, your doctor will slide the script to you and say, take this for 90 days, and then let's circle back and do some lab work and see how you're doing and see if we need to adjust or, you know, where your numbers are. I use that 90-day as a benchmark all the time in my own personal life and in my practice. A probiotic, take it for 90 days, see how your body's responding. Then begin to reduce it. Just take it a few days a week. There may be a time to use outside help with regards to enzymes, and that's another, you know, we can go off on a tangent with those. But ultimately, our goal is to stabilize our microbiome through food. But like I said, the probiotics, they're out there. There's so many brands, and you've got probiotics for vaginal health and probiotics for gut health and probiotics for colon and probiotics for mind and mental. I mean, it can be so confusing. Find the lactobacillus and the bifidobacterium and 10 billion with a B CFUs daily for up to 90 days. See how your body responds, and then begin to titrate off. As you titrate off, increase your sauerkraut, increase your fermented foods, your pickled beets, right? Your probiotics, your artichokes, leeks, etc. And see if you can't ultimately come down to where you don't need to take them. And then, of course, get dirty. Get your hands in the dirt. Don't wash your hands so often. Let yourself get a little funky. Let yourself get just a little funky. Okay, I have a recipe here for you. For those who are interested, this comes from my studies with Dr. Aviva Ram, who is a most spectacular women's health doctor. Yale trained MD, spent her early career as a midwife, just a really phenomenal woman. Dr. Aviva Ram, she is who I studied integrative and functional medicine for women with, and this is her recipe. So she gets all the cred for this. If you leaky gut people, listen up. If you have dysfunction in your gut, this is for you. licorice root, marshmallow root, calendula blossom, chamomile, and dried ginger. You can get all of these things online. I don't get a kickback from Mountain Rose Herbs, but that would be the first place I would go to look for these cut herbs. Don't get the powder. You want the hard, what we call cut and sifted herbs. There are other places you can explore. Star West Botanicals is out there, Frontier Co-op. I'm sure there are others that escape me right now. You can buy these in quarter pound, half pound bags, 1 pound bags. This is your recipe, 2 ounces of each, put them all in a big jar, shaky, shaky. There's your tea. Take a handful. I'm not a big, you don't have to like measure and be exact. Just take a handful, put it into a French press, top it off with 2 cups of boiling water and let it steep for at least 30 minutes. Plunger, and then drink a half a cup twice a day and just keep making it. Make it every couple of days, make another batch and just keep drinking this. It is the licorice root makes it sweet. It's extremely palatable. You can keep it in the refrigerator. You can drink it room temperature, slightly chilled if you must. Pitta people, I'm looking at you. But if you can go room temp, that would be great. Hot is fine too. My husband likes it chilled and it's quite good, actually. So there you go. If you want to take a screenshot of that, that is yours. That's one way. In addition to the previous screen, here is another way that we can begin to repair and re-inoculate the GI tract. So what's next? Another way that we repair, replace, and rebuild is moving to the rainbow, eating the rainbow and beyond. This little, what is this called? A pneumatic, I think. I don't know. Wordsmiths, help me out. But food goals, F goals. This comes from Dr. Will Bolsewicz. He is the author, he's a gastroenterologist and author of the book Fiber Fueled. He has a second book out now, the name escapes me, but Fiber Fueled, if you have not heard of the book, I highly recommend it. If you have heard of it but haven't read it, definitely get your hands on it. I think it's just a fascinating study into the microbiome. And it's written in such a conversational, he's a little bit of a bro, but in such a conversational way that makes very easy to read and engaging. So here's how we remember. He created this for us for easy memory, how we get the rainbow on our plates. We want to make sure we have fruits and ferments. Eat the berries, right? All the berries. Studies indicate that women who ate just 2 servings of strawberries or 1 serving of blueberries per week, that's it, per week, 1 serving of blueberries a week, their brain behaved like it was 30 months younger. 30 months younger. How old would you be if you were 30 months younger than you are now? When wild blueberries were given to kids, they saw almost an immediate improvement in cognitive performance. You want to opt for the smaller wild blueberries. They have a higher level of phytonutrients. So as far as ferments goes, I've been talking about those already. 2 to 4 ounces a day is all you need. Sauerkraut, pickled vegetables, kombucha. I discussed kombucha over on the Facebook page. You be careful with it. It's very high in sugar and often can be very high in alcohol. I'm not the biggest fan of kombucha. If you are a kombucha lover, you like your booch, 2 to 4 ounces a day, top it off. Ain't nobody need to be walking around with a thermos of kombucha. Nobody. Greens and grains are second. Greens, that's a no-brainer. As far as grains go, just ditch the refined grains. You're already eating good, healthy grains. Ditch the refined stuff, right? Go for brown rice. Go for farro. I see people on Facebook are loving the farro now. That's great. Such a fantastic grain. Omega-3 super seeds. So you're going to find these in your flax seed, your chia seeds, and your hemp seeds. Okay, so I'm rattling these off. If you want to take notes, great, but I'm rattling these off for you to just start like identifying like a little mental post-it note of, oh, I've got that. I can add that to my meals tomorrow. Walnuts also qualify as omega-3 super seeds. Walnuts, firm tofu actually checks the boxes. Edamame, these also contain omega-3s to a lesser degree, but they're in there. Aromatics. Now, when we're talking about aromatics, we're talking about garlic, onions, shallots, scallions, leeks, what are called the allium vegetables, which is nutrition code for being jam-packed with nutrients, flavonoids, and anti-cancer properties. So here you go. The stronger the smell of the aromatic, the better for your health. Antibacterial, antifungal, antiparasitic, antiviral properties. You go for the really strong stuff. Garlic, yay. One thing that I learned in Dr. B's book that I had never heard before, and I'm married to a chef, but I don't know, he's never told me this. Chop, then stop. I'm still talking about the aromatics. Chop, then stop. If you're going to chop onions or chop garlic for your next meal, chop it up and then allow it to sit for 10 minutes before you start cooking it. This allows the enzymatic activity to take place. Who knew? I never heard that. Anyway, so chop then stop. Fresh herbs also fall into the category of being aromatics. Herbs are way more than just a garnish. They're nutrient dense. They have multiple phytochemicals. They can pack big flavor, and they're another score for your plant diversity for those of you who are counting plants, especially rewarding when you grow your own. And legumes next. You know, I'm a big fan of the legumes. What is that place? Rancho El Gordo? Is that the bean place? I'll find it and I'll put it on the Facebook page. Rancho Gordo, they have the best beans, lima beans, black chickpeas, or black lentils, rather. No, the chickpeas, black chickpeas. They have all kinds of legumes and beans, and they're one of the best companies out there, I think. Sulforaphane, shrooms, and seaweed. We're coming up on the hour. If anybody needs to leave, please log off. You'll get the recording. We started late, so I'm going to keep going for like another 10 minutes. Sulforaphane, these are your cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, Brussels, cauliflower, kale, cabbage. There's an extraordinary list of medicinal properties, from cancer protection to regulating the immune system and combating bacterial and fungal infections. Broccoli sprouts seem to be the big winner in terms of offering the most sulforaphane power. So if you can get your hands on broccoli sprouts, either at the grocery store or at your local farmer's market, or even better, grow your own, you're doing yourself a huge service. And then mushrooms and seaweed, y'all, these count too. Shrooms, a ton of varieties. Mushrooms contain prebiotics. I didn't mention those in the previous slide, but you can definitely get a good bolus of prebiotics from various mushrooms. I have been just enamored with cooking with lion's mane. For quite a while, I've been seeing lion's mane and, you know, using it like, you know, I see it in teas or in capsules, but it's only been in the last year or 2 years that I've started cooking lion's mane. And I got to tell you, I am so impressed with how meaty and hearty it is. You slice the lion's mane into strips or chunks, and you saute it with ghee or olive oil and some salt and pepper or some other spices. I mean, it goes great on salads. It goes great on rice. It goes great in pasta. It's like chicken. I mean, I want to say tastes like chicken, but it doesn't taste like chicken. But it has that hearty mouthfeel that is just meaty. And so I've been putting it in soups. I made a lentil walnut bolognese last week, which was incredible. And I added mushrooms, I added lion's mane and blue oysters to it. So good. Seaweed, kelp, wakame, nori, spirulina, all of these are high in prebiotic fibers that you won't find in land-based plants. So when you can get good high quality seaweed, that is also a big win, especially for those of us who are landlocked and living in the middle of the country. I'm not eating anything, thank you very much, out of Fort Gibson Lake. Finally, back to ojas. You want to build your ojas account, right? So we're born with a certain amount of ojas, and we can spend our lives depleting it. Or we can spend our lives our early lives depleting it because we don't know any different. But I don't know, was it Maya Angelou who is credited with saying, once we know better, we do better? So now you know you have a certain amount of ojas when you are born. You know how ojas gets depleted. You know how crucial it is to eat wholesome, high quality, real food. You know how crucial it is for your digestive system to be intact and robust. In order to feed, to nourish, that's a better term, in order to nourish all these layers, these 7 layers of tissue, to finally create ojas by what you eat. So if we can spend time in nature, if we can eliminate the electronics, if we can get adequate rest, if we can eat the right foods at the right time and the right amount, and our digestive system is capable of handling it and assimilating it, then all of these factors come together to create good, healthy ojas. I like to say, build your ojas account with foods, fitness, and friendship. So the right food at the right place at the right time. Fitness, not too much, not too little, right? We can overdo it on fitness, can we not? Yeah, absolutely. So the right place at the right amount, the right time, and there's all kinds of recommendations around the best time of day from the Ayurvedic perspective to do our activities, but and friendships, I think crucial. Build our ojas account by eliminating or at least putting extremely strong boundaries around the people who suck our ojas dry, those ojas vampires, and creating more community, creating more good company with the people that edify us. So if you consider that you have a bank account of ojas, you can take time each day to build and invest in your account, and you'll begin to see profound differences regardless of where you start, right? I mean, you might be so ojas poor right now and be like, oh, there's no hope for me. That's bullcrap. There's always hope. There's always hope. There's always hope. Regardless of your starting point, healthy foods, healthy fitness and movement practices suited to your constitution and the time of year. Avoid the ojas vampires, set boundaries, and stick to them. Bring goodness into your life with the healthy friendships, the good company, and I hope you're reaching out. It's in your manual to reach out, make a little note, text somebody you haven't talked to in a long time or you're thinking of, just like out of the blue. Maybe somebody showed up in your dream. Let them know. Reach out to people. Ultimately, as you move forward, and I'm not leaving you high and dry, we still have through Sunday, okay, to keep, keep in our community. And we'll keep the Facebook group going for another month or two. But ultimately, as you move forward, there's so many things that I hope you take from this program. But maybe fundamentally, I hope that you take this concept of creating an environment in your kitchen and creating an environment within your timing, your daily routine, I should say, where the healthy choice becomes the easy choice. It's too easy in our world to grab that ultra processed food. It's too easy to grab that Luna bar and hit the road, that Luna bar and a cup of coffee and call it a meal. It's too easy to go through the drive-through. It's too easy to be standing, my gosh, at Whole Foods and grab the peanut butter cup, as you check out. It's just so easy to just, it's just too easy, right? Versus if we can make the healthy choice the easy choice, meal prep, grocery shop, get to your farmer's market, learn to engage in your kitchen, engage your family in your kitchen, learn to play with your food, get your hands dirty in your garden and grow your food, grow your herbs. So making the healthy choice the easy choice, I think that will be my mantra for the rest of the week. How are we making the healthy choice the easy choice? All right, ladies, thank you for being such an attentive audience. Oh, we've got some things in the chat. I'm going to take like 3 more minutes and see if I can get through. Aaron, I don't know what that means. You're going to have to help me with that.
I think that's what that, where you list all the letters down that spell
Oh,
something, and then I think that's what that is. Sorry.
no, no wonder. I was like, I don't know what that. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see, mentioned Hingbastock earlier this month. Hingbastock, thanks, Sonia. Okay, so Hingbastock is that's a blend of multiple herbs and spices that you can get either in capsule or in powder form. I personally like it in powder. Anytime I can use something in a powder, maybe except Triphala, but anytime I can use something in a powder to get the taste of it, I'm all for it. Hingbastock is great for vata digestion. It can be good for kapha too, because it is warming. It's got some kick to it, some spice to it. So kapha would certainly benefit from Hingbastock. Hingbastock is particularly good for vata in regards to bloating and gas, and that's usually a vata based concern, a vata based discomfort. I mean, what is bloating if it's not air? What is gas if it's not air and wind, right? So vata is air and space. So Hingbastock is excellent for the vata dosha or anybody experiencing a vata imbalance. I just should reiterate or say, if I haven't already, that you might not be a strong vata constitution, but maybe you're going through something that is causing an imbalance with gas and bloating and distension. Okay, so you're having a vata imbalance. So treat the vata, right? The crab cakes with lion's mane. Ooh, awesome. Yay. Okay. Molly, if you can find that, great. If not, I might have that somewhere because it seems like you posted it maybe some point, or yeah, I've seen that floating. I know where that is. I'll find it. You could, okay. All right, we'll find it. Between the two of us, we'll find it and put it on the Facebook page. Everybody, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure seeing each of you every Monday night that are showing up. And for those of you who are grabbing the replay, drop in, either email me or pop into the Facebook group if you have questions, or if something doesn't make sense or something really strikes a chord with you. Please throw it out there, because I can guarantee you're probably not the only person thinking that, and we could all use the comments. So that's it. I hope I hope anybody doing the challenge, the physical challenge. I have to do my stuff tonight. I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, like 135 squats? What the hell? That 2-minute plank like to kill me. I'm on my knees, y'all. The 60 sit-ups, yeah. So we do what we can, and hopefully we keep going with it. But okay, so we're going to stay on board the Facebook group for at least another week, and then we'll see what happens after that. But look for I want to say this really quick, and then we'll pop off the liver protocol. So in the manual, I think, let me see if I can. In the manual, whoa, what just happened? Oh, darn. I'm sorry. I don't have my manual handy. I thought I did, and I was going to pull that up, but I don't want to waste your time looking for it. So the protocol right now, what I would suggest, I put this in this morning's email, but just in case anybody hasn't seen it yet, what I would suggest doing is the kutki. God, we didn't even talk about the kutki tonight. I would put the kutki in the liver, get it together, Lisa. I would put the kutki drops in the aloe tonic and just knock that out in one fell swoop. Okay. Because I think the manual is like, take your kutki in the morning, take your aloe tonic in the evening. And you know what? Just get it done. Just take it in the morning. Take the kutki in the morning with the aloe tonic. And then you can take your liver tablet in the evening. If you want to take it in the morning too, that's fine. Take it in the morning and get everything done in the morning, and just take your Triphala at night. That would be great. But in the past, we've done kutki twice a day, but we don't need to do kutki twice a day. Just do it once. Do it in the morning. 20 to 30 drops. Kutki is extremely bitter, extremely bitter. And if you haven't tried it yet, be forewarned. It's extremely bitter, and it has an affinity for the liver. And it's a hepatoprotective, liver protectant. And if you have high vata in your constitution, why don't you start low? Why don't you start at 15 or 20 drops? Don't jump up to 30. If you've got high pitta or high kapha, you can handle 30. Most likely, you can handle 30 drops. Okay. So again, just like we talked about before we started recording, it's your body. Listen closely, pay attention. If your body's like, whoa, no, back off, right? Start low, go slow. It's your program. Take your time. Take it easy and take your time. If you have any questions, any concerns, any curiosities, please reach out to me. I am here for you. And I'll put something on the Facebook group about Kutki so everybody can kind of get on the same page about what is up with this wild herb. Okay. All right, everybody. Great night. Week. Do your squats. Get some sleep. Embrace all the good people in your life and eat your sauerkraut. And I will see you over on the Facebook page.